diving through that. And again, this is a little bit, there's a lot of information that I'm giving you up front, but once we start digging into having the conversations around the questions, I just wanted to make sure that I have a context. I'll say, well, let's go look at the C3 framework, and let's see if that helps, or something like that, and I want you to understand what I'm referring to when I say that. So the folders here then, as I described, is where as you create your items, you're going to be sharing them back in these folders. But this one called Handouts, if you click on Handouts, this is the electronic version of, first of all, the C3 framework, right? So I gave you the nice book because I ordered a bunch of them and I had some left over, so I wanted to give you something to have in hand. But if you prefer it online, you can leave your book with me, and it's right there, right? So if you click on that link, you get exactly what's in this book, just in a colorful PDF document that you can print at your leisure. But you're welcome to have the book. Now, the documents that you have at your table. So what I want to do now is just kind of showcase what the documents are at your table, and then you can just kind of do an analysis of those documents just to kind of get comfortable with them, and then you can ask me questions after I give you a chance to kind of talk through them. So this first one is the DOK Ocean Social Studies document. So what that looks like is it's the colorful document that we had at your tables. So if you don't have it, go ahead and grab that. Bless you. So what this document does is this document is going to help us as we look at the standard to make sure that we're writing the question that matches that standard. Okay? So across the top, you've got the Bloom's taxonomy, or the cognitive rigor, if you will, and then the depth of knowledge going down. Sorry, Bloom's taxonomy and depth of knowledge, okay? What it's trying to do, or what this kind of simulates, is if you look at the land, that's kind of like the land where you're the safest or the lowest level of survival, if you will. It's easiest to just be on land. And then as you swim to deeper water, it becomes more difficult or complex. So this whole thing is called a cognitive rigor matrix, and that's where Bloom's taxonomy, so complexity in thinking, matches the depth of knowledge, right? So we're balancing these two things out, and what they're trying to do is give you words. So you would look for these words in the standards that we're going to be analyzing to see, okay, so I need to create a question. If it's let's say it's kind of a compare contrast of people, events, or places. So if we're doing a compare contrast of people, events, or places, it's going to be very skill and conceptual. So it's going to be compare contrast because they're going to be analyzing different skills, right? So if I look at analyzing, analysis, and actually it's just skills or concepts, compare and contrast, maybe determining, maybe describing a particular text, or maybe identifying a pattern in an event or two, right? So it's going to give me ideas about what might my question be. Because how the standard reads, the standard is going to say, analyze, and you're going to make the determination of, well, okay, so if we're analyzing that, that's really getting at skills or concepts within it. Or is it saying analyzing the effects of, right? If we're talking about the effects of something, we're getting more into that strategic thinking or reasoning, right? The kid's going to have to do more reasoning versus like just looking at a document or looking at a specific concept. If that's the case, then I move down to this analysis and reasoning. Now I'm going to be comparing information within or across text passages possibly, or analyzing similarities or differences in an issue or problem. So using this document with the language in the standard is going to help us generate ideas around what that question is going to look like. All right, so this is our cognitive rigor matrix, or the DOK Ocean Social Studies if you want to see it electronically at a later date. And this is all under that handouts folder. I made that clear, right? Did you hear me say that? Okay. You also then are going to have some depth of knowledge question stems. So if you determine the depth of knowledge, you've got some stems that you can reference. So if you are determining it's a DOK3, but you're not quite sure how to ask the question, there's some stems there to support you in what those questions might look like. Okay? I'm not sure about the Mac Outlook thing. Dave's got a Mac. I'm guessing that's his document. We do have the content expectations. I did not print these up front. If you would like me to, I can. But when you see them, you'll see they're available here as well. But if you would like them printed, I will print them for you. In case you aren't, the GLCE is the K-8 and the HS is the high school. HS for high school, GL is grade level. And then the last document that I gave you is this 5 themes in 21st century questioning document. And this is the one that's going to really help us kind of process through that geography piece, right? I need to put together a better professional development for you around this geography, this spatial geography thinking. So I'm going to just touch on this for today because I want to give us a chance to analyze these documents and dive into it a little bit more. But basically, this is really trying to outline that spatial thinking on geography. Remember on the PowerPoint, it was like, how does spatial historical thinking and geography really inform students in their thinking? And so this is really trying to help us better understand how kids understand location, like what location means and what's important around location compared to place or movement or regions, and what that really means when it comes to instruction and learning. And so this document attempts to kind of jump at that and give you questions that you might use. So if the standard demands conversation around regions, here are different questions you can consider as to what that standard's really getting at, right? It's kind of advancing the map concept. So it's not like locate this on the map. It might be more about analyzing the given map. What does that tell you about the way that a certain civilization moved throughout this period of history, right? So that's going to be more of that type of a question. So using a map not to locate where the civilization might be, but to share some thinking or answer a question in another way around why the movement occurred the way that it did based on what the student's pulling for evidence off the map. So kind of expanding that geographical thinking. So that's what that document will get you to as well. So those are some document. I gave you another one that's peer review questions for consideration, but that's kind of getting into the jurying process or analyzing the question you've already done. So I'm going to hold on that. But those first 3 documents, if you would kind of dig into those, if you want to look at them online, they again are in that folder. But just have a conversation, look at them at your table. I'll give you another 3 to 5 minutes just to kind of look at those and get comfortable with them or ask me questions as I come around. Any questions?
Do you know if Air 4 is not going to be included in high school at all?
I'm not positive, but we'll look. I'll show you where you can look in a second. But I think...
They're going to do that. They're readjusting it for next year, right?
Correct.
It's 100% happening.
Yes.
Sometimes, like they say...
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Well...